Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. And today we are talking about how to deal with frustrations and inconveniences. But before we jump into that, I do want to always invite you over to my Instagram. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. I would love to hear from you in the DMs. I would love to answer any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or maybe you just want to say hey, hi, and hello to me. I would love all of those things. So again, at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, or you are welcome to send me a good old-fashioned email, realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. All of that information is in the show notes below. But again, I would love, love, love to hear from you and become friends online. But let's go ahead and just jump into our topic of the day. Again, we are talking about how to deal with frustrations and inconveniences. So I would be lying if I told you that I didn't let the little things bother me. Like those little things, like if someone cuts in front of you in line or, in traffic or let's see, what other kind of random things happen to me? People like bump into me at the store, or you are trying to race against the clock to get somewhere and then you get there like a minute too late, or you find that you have just gotten home from running an errand and you realize you have to go back out right away. And things like this, or, someone showing up late, or, just things just not working out in your favor. It's so annoying. And I have spent a good portion of my life allowing the little problems and inconveniences in my life get a rise out of me, because my struggle with perfectionism has kind of gotten in the way. It's gotten in the way of a lot of things, and I've shared that with you guys as time has gone on, and it's gotten better. I would definitely say that things have gotten easier the more time that I take to become more self-aware and understanding of who I am, and just, really getting my mindset in order. But it's still a struggle, right? And it also has to do with people pleasing and just growing up in an environment where expectations were set to be sky high, which is also something that I have spoken about. So, I just want to ask you, did you happen to experience something similar to in your life? Like, not necessarily it has to be when you were growing up, but just something similar, and you also struggle with allowing these little things to get to you. And it's okay if you've never admitted it to anyone else, as long as you were just admitting it to yourself. Like, yeah, I do let these little tiny things bother me. I will even sometimes get so irritated that my dog doesn't know how to play like tug of war, and I don't get I get frustrated in the moment, but I don't, nothing happens to him. I'm just like, okay, well, I guess we won't play that game. But it's like, why doesn't my dog? Most dogs know how to do that. It's like that's even like an inconvenience to me. I'm like, well, why can't we play this game? Because it's really hard to play fetch inside the house, and my husband hates it when I play fetch inside the house. Anyway, it's just like these little things that just irk me. And I'm sure that you feel the same, whether, it's something that you've actually spent time thinking about or not. And, I do agree that these things don't seem very little in the moment, because I'm sure you're like, Sabrina, these things that you're talking about, or things that I'm thinking about, things that you're thinking about right now, you're like, no, these are really big things, because the appearance is large and in charge and overwhelming and annoying, like to the max when it's happening. But I want you to know that it doesn't have to be such a bother. And I'm sure this news is super surprising. I know, I am shocked. Thoroughly shocked, but it doesn't have to be as much of a bother as it is, because when we are dealing with frustrations and inconveniences, there is a downward spiral that can happen if we allow it. Important note here, if we allow it, when these random annoying occurrences pop up and get in the way of other things. And I definitely want to mention other things. They just creep their way in, and you're so happy and joyful and go lucky with these other things. And then bam, a frustration and inconvenience is at your door. Have you ever noticed that if you have nothing else, nothing else going on, and something small like this comes along, it isn't as bad as an experience, it's like you literally have nothing going on. There is nothing on the line. You have no expectations. Life just seems fine. And then you have like a little inconvenience and it's like not that big of a deal. But maybe some of you were like, no, it's a big deal every single time. Totally fine. But it just, usually if there's nothing happening at all, it's like, okay, fine. Super annoying, but we're going to let that one slide. But when you are invested in something, even something minor, you've got plans, you're in the middle of something, you don't want to be bothered. Anything getting in your way can be more than you can handle. You're like, literally, like, seriously, why me? This is so annoying. Why do I have to deal with this crap? Things like this continue to pile up. Like, these are the thoughts and things that you're thinking to yourself. You're like, why? Why me? Right? And a lot of times, at least, it's in America, like our saying is like first world problems, right? Because when something doesn't go right and you really are trying to be aware of like, okay, well, this isn't really like life or death, right? This isn't like the end of the world, that this is happening right now. But sometimes it can feel like that when you're trying to deal with something else that is super important, And it can be more than we can handle. And it's because we suddenly lack control over things going the way we want. And that's a tough truth to swallow, right? Like, especially for me, if you deal with control issues and you want everything to be a certain way because you know it'll be efficient, you know it'll work out the best, it's just the best way based on history and your prior experience and how you believe things should go. And then something just comes along and kind of like irks its way up in there. You're like, no, this will not do. We cannot have this. It's annoying. It's annoying. And we just want everything to be the way that we want it. So the spiral can result in however way that like you go through it, but the spiral can result in releasing like a ton of anger. And you might end up directing that anger and projecting it onto someone else. It's very common because it's like you displace it because you need to get it out. And if you just do it alone, it doesn't really feel like you've actually accomplished anything. And if there's actually no one to blame for the frustration and inconvenience, which is common, you have to get it out. And it's usually someone that's close to you that gets the brutal beating of that. So you end up projecting it onto someone else and allowing these events to sour everything else. It is a behavior that drives me crazy. There are people in my life that exhibit this behavior. It drives me nuts because I don't believe in allowing little things to come along and wreck the entire day. Like why are you giving it that much power to wreck everything when really it could be an easy fix? Maybe it's a hard fix. Maybe you have to step outside your comfort zone and actually ask someone to help you and assist you to figure this out, to get things back on track. But a lot of that's really hard for people. A lot of that would be like, I would feel like that's all impossible to me. Like impossible for me to like realize that, wow, this little thing doesn't have to ruin my whole day, because it just feels like once there's one bump in the road, you have this expectation that there's going to be more bumps in the road and everything is going to turn out bad and everything is going to spiral and everything is going to go downhill. And if you ask someone for help, you're going to seem weak. You're going to seem like you are not capable of doing what you're going to do. And then maybe someone will steal the spotlight from you, especially if you were looking for having the spotlight on you and you really were looking for this external validation, because you are relying on external validation to really help your self-esteem and your self-worth. I know that was a lot, but it was all real and true, and a lot of things that we should talk about at sometime in the future, not this episode, but a lot of it can spiral in that way, right? And I've gone through all of it. So if you're going through it now, or you are like, you are, or you're realizing right now that you're like, wow, that is me, it's okay. There is another side to this. Like, you can work away from this. You can, get stronger from this struggle. Like, really, you can. You can. It just takes time and effort. And that's what we do here. And that's what we talk about here. But it is so, oh man, allowing events to just sour everything. It's not a good look. And I know it's something that we have to continually work on if that is a struggle of yours, but just know that there is like a silver lining to everything. As cheesy as it sounds, it's true. And I feel like most of those cliche, cheesy like phrases that people say, it's because they're true and we have attached this negative connotation to those phrases because it's like, oh, well, I don't want to actually believe in that because it seems too good to be true, but they are true. So I would say most of them. Anyway, getting back on track, our minds tend to focus so hard on the bad things that happen, even if the proportion of good and bad is higher on the good side. Even if, like, you literally all you did was, like, someone stepped on your toe, but everything else in your day was perfect. It's like, oh, well, someone asks you how your day was, like, oh, it was rough. Someone stepped on my toe. Okay, well, what else happened? Well, I got a promotion and my presentation went really well, and I got a free cup of coffee, and I'm going out to dinner tonight with friends. Wow, okay, sounds like a hard day. I know that that might sound condescending, and I don't mean to be, but I just want you to like really think about it. Like, if you take a step back, widen your perspective, and understand, wow, okay, maybe I need to shift my mindset a bit and realize a couple bad things in a day don't need to ruin everything, right? And you're probably like, Sabrina, what if it's a really bad thing? What if someone died? What if I lost my job? What if something really bad happened? Well, you're going to have to express your emotion and grieve in the way that you need to. Of course, maybe that will classify as a totally bad day. Even if some good things happened, even if someone in front of you at Starbucks did pay for your coffee and your croissant, right? Someone died. It's a big thing. However, I think that if you continue to practice the mindset of like not allowing bad things to ruin your day, you could, if you were in a mental place to do this, still qualify a day as being okay, even if someone died, if good things happened in the day. You're still sad, you're heartbroken, you're feeling whatever you're feeling, right? But you can still see it as a good day because, maybe that person was struggling and now they're in heaven and that's a better place for them, right? It's like you're going to miss them. Everyone's going to miss them, right? It's sad. It's heartbreaking. There's an empty space. But maybe that's where they needed to be to not have any more pain and suffering. Or maybe this was expected. And again, more comfort. I'm not saying, and I believe me, I've been through a lot of death in my life. I'm not saying that you have to react that way. I'm just saying the possibility is there for you to find a little spark of hope, or that little positivity that you can inject into your day could even be being grateful for the time that you got to spend with that person, right? That's really what kept me from completely falling apart when a really good friend of mine passed away 3 years ago. And she was way too young, barely married long enough. And she just passed away in her sleep one day. And it was sad and it was heartbreaking, right? Because it was one of those friends that I feel like really got me and I got her. And anyway, but I continually remind myself that, yeah, that time sucked for everyone. But I reminded myself, I was so grateful to know her. I was so grateful for her to be in my life. I was so happy that she taught me the things that she did, and she helped me become a better person. I really reflect on it. And again, this is just like a really dramatic example of how even the worst things that can happen in your day, you can still reflect on positive things and not throw the whole day away. Okay? But yes, so that proportion of focusing on the bad, even if there's more good, we need to shift that in our mind, and also what leads to this like spiral is it's also having a habit of leaning into being more reactive than responsive. And in the last couple episodes, I've talked a lot about being reactive versus being responsive. When you're reactive, it's just like immediate, in the moment, in the heat of the moment. You're not taking the time to really consider if that is like whatever action and emotion that you're taking is appropriate for the situation, as opposed to responding where you have to take a moment to really gather your thoughts and decide what would be appropriate for this situation, even if it's a quick 15 to 30 seconds. So it's important for you to learn the habit of leaning more into being responsive and not reactive, especially since you don't want to do anything that you regret. So I want to top off talking about this before we jump in to my tips on how to deal with frustrations and inconveniences by sharing something that might be hard for a lot of people to hear. So prepare. I know that was dramatic, but you'll see. I want you to know that the truth is we do this to ourselves, right? I know that sucks to hear. I know that it's a hard truth to accept, but it's real and it's a fact. I'm telling you this. We do this to ourselves. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are upset and defensive and want to be like, no, Sabrina, I did not. It was all of these other people in my life that did this to me. Oh, man. So I need to do like an episode dedicated to this. I mean, I did like the episode that's right before this is talking about being defensive. So if you do struggle with being defensive, I think I might do like a continuation episode talking about that, the being like super victimized. But if you struggle with that, I encourage you to go back and listen to that one. It's the one right before this one. But the truth is we do it. We just do this to ourselves. Many of our struggles are due to our inability to see that changing behavior and mindset in us will produce good results. And I want to make sure that I highlight the fact that I said changing behavior and mindset in us. You can't just be like, well, they need to change and then everything will be better for you. That's not true. Everyone has to do their part. And all we are in control of is ourselves. We are not in control or responsible for anyone else's reactions, emotions, anything like that. But yeah, it's like changing. It will have good results. But a lot of people don't believe that. And this has a lot to do with like fear and limiting beliefs in the environments we have grown up in and been exposed to. It does. It does have a lot to do with that. But by continually shifting the blame to everyone else, you are painting yourself as a victim and not taking any responsibility. Therefore, you are not enacting any change and nothing will get better. Things might actually get worse. And I want you to consider that. If you are like, no, it's not me, it's always them. It's gonna be you. It's gonna be you. And I just need you to know that, But I find that if we accept the truth that we have the power to pull ourselves out of these mindsets that keep us locked up here and thinking that nothing needs to be changed and and that we should just be more reactive and allow things to bother us, rather than being unbothered, which is my goal of 2022, is to be unbothered. I just want you to know that. And just so you know, I am recording in 2021, but I'm already thinking about my goals for 2022. But yeah, it's, if we accept the truth that we have the power to pull ourselves out of these mindsets, since we did allow ourselves to fall or be sucked into them, regardless of like what happened, and what caused that, we become stronger. We will become stronger if we realize that changes can be made and they will not be detrimental to everything else happening. Yes, change will mean that other things that we are enjoying right now and that are easy for us might change and become harder and different and more difficult, but that is for the better and that is for growth. And we should all be focusing in on growth. So let's jump to the tips. Here are some tips, 4 tips on how to deal with life's frustrations and inconveniences. The first one is to accept your feelings because those are normal. Now, if you're not new around here, this first tip will not surprise you at all. And the least you'll be like, okay, let's get to number 2 because I knew number 1 was coming. But if you're new, I talk about this a lot because, repetition is key to actually learning things and accepting things. But I always talk about how you need to accept your feelings, and you need to accept them because they're normal. They're normal human nature for you to realize that even if your emotion and your feelings might not be the most positive, it might not be the most helpful, you can accept that that's how you feel, but you need to take the time to reflect on, like, why am I feeling this way? What has caused this? Do I actually need to go through with the reaction that would be coupled with this emotion that I normally would? And by not reacting in the moment and actually figuring out what the appropriate response is, you are doing what's best for you. So it's okay to feel your feelings and try to figure out like why and what's going on, but that does not equate to a reaction. But I do want you to accept your feelings because they're your feelings and they are valid. Number 2, consider if it's worth reacting negatively. So if you say to yourself, yeah, I want to be angry in this moment and super annoyed. Okay, all right. Well, is it worth it though? So if you're like, no, Sabrina, I don't care about response. I don't want to do that. I want to react. I want to be in the moment. Okay, well, what is that going to gain you? Right? What are you going to get out of that? What are you going to get out of being angry? What are you going to get out of like projecting your anger onto someone else because you're just so fed up and frustrated with these stupid little inconveniences that are happening in your life? Generally, the answer to this question is nothing. Like you might be like, well, I'll get it off my chest. There are other ways to get it off your chest. You could work out, you could take a walk, you could write it in your journal, you could actually do a voice note in your phone and save it. Make sure that's tucked away and be private. You could talk to your therapist. You could talk to someone that you're really close to and really start that conversation with, hey, can I vent? And ask them if that's okay, and then spill it out. You can talk to a mentor. You could pray. You could meditate. There are many things you can do to release that frustration, to release that energy, that's built up when we have these intense emotions, right? So you really need to consider if whatever reaction you're wanting to do is actually worth it, if you will regret it later, if it will be helpful, and how you will feel afterwards, and how will you feel later, okay? But really the closest one that will help you get to the answer is, will it be worth it? And will it help you? So consider that. Number 3, tap into perspective. I talk about widening your perspective a lot. It's really important and it's so super helpful. A lot of times we are so super zoomed in on what is happening in our lives at that moment right now. But even if you backed up just a little bit, just to kind of see like, okay, well, they cut me off in traffic. Now I want to ride their bumper for the next 2 miles until I have to turn or they turn or whatever. Because they deserved it because they cut me off. And now they're driving 10 miles under the speed limit. Super annoying. I get it. But maybe take it back a notch and be like, okay, well, is this like things that will help me think about that specific example are like, maybe they're a new driver. Maybe they're having a really bad, stressful day. Maybe they are super conscious and aware of like, okay, there's cops in this area, or I really don't want to get pulled over for a ticket because I've had too many recently, or I made a mistake and I feel bad. And it's really hard to tell someone that you made a mistake while you're driving. Like everyone just gets so riled up, me included. I have road rage. It's a problem. Really by taking that one footstep back, you're like, okay, let's consider like what is going on. Like, and I've been doing that more and more while I'm driving, especially when I'm driving with my kid in the car who will be learning how to drive in the next 2.5 years. It's important. So I don't pass on all that craziness to her too much. But yeah, just taking a step back of realizing, okay, like maybe I'm only seeing the situation because it's inconveniencing me, but maybe it's inconveniencing that person that's causing it or that did it, or maybe they don't realize that they did it, or maybe they're just, you're giving people grace and the benefit of the doubt. You're like, okay, this is probably not as bad as I think it is. Maybe this person driving 10 miles over, like under the speed limit on a 1-lane road will make me a couple minutes late, but is it the end of the world? Probably not. Will it be okay? Probably. What are you going to gain from like riding their bumper for the next 2 miles and making them feel super uncomfortable and unsafe? Nothing. You're just going to be labeled as a jerk and a memory in their mind. It's not good. So, like, just think about that next time you're in a frustrating situation, or maybe like the person at Starbucks. Oh man, you're in a long line at Starbucks. Like, if you're in the drive-thru and you have two cars behind you and you have like a car in front of you, two cars in front of you, and that person like ordered like 10 drinks and 5 pastries and 2 breakfast sandwiches, and they're waiting for all this crap, and you're like, man, I can't even back out of this line now. I am like stuck in the middle of this line. You're like, okay, well, at least I have the money to come and be in the Starbucks drive-thru line, because Lord knows that Starbucks is so overpriced. And I'm grateful that I have a car to be in the drive-thru line. I didn't have to go inside. I'm just going to be happy for them buying all the things that they need, and happy that we're all getting Starbucks, especially if it's holiday time and it's Red Cup time, which it is right now when I'm recording this. It's Red Cup day today. Today was the first day. And, really just be like, okay, like, do I need to be upset about this? I'm still going to get my coffee or your drink or whatever you like. And it's going to be okay. And yeah, it might cost you a couple extra minutes. They might say sorry for the long wait and feel bad. And if you just like displace your anger onto the barista that you meet at the window, like, they're doing their best. We all just need to try to do our best and give each other a little bit of grace. So tap into that perspective, step back a little bit, widen it, be like, what else is going on that isn't just directly affecting me? To maybe just ease up a bit, right? Okay, number 4, the last one. Make the most of the situation and see the inconvenience as an opportunity. So making the most of the situation is really trying to paint thickly a silver line on the inconvenience. So if you're in the Starbucks line and you are stuck, like, you're stuck because two cars in front of you and they all ordered a million things, right? And you're like, oh, now I have to wait forever. And it's not like when you go to a drive-thru, like here in Washington State, we have burger places called Burgerville. So you might not be familiar with that if you live somewhere else, but we have a place called Burgerville. And if you get into the drive-thru there and you order a bunch of stuff and it's not ready, they ask you, hey, or even at like a Dairy Queen, if you're familiar with that, they'll be like, hey, can you just like go park off to the side so we can continue to service people in the line so the line doesn't get super stuck? Like, no. They don't do that at Starbucks, right? They're just like, we're going to try to get you all through the drive-thru line. But if you're going to make the most of the situation at Starbucks and you're stuck in the Starbucks line, I would say, hey, this is a perfect time for you to call a friend that you haven't talked to in a while. I know we don't really call people on the phone that much anymore, text messaging. Maybe you can do that too since you're not driving and you're stopped in a line. Or you can have that extra time to listen to the audiobook or podcast or jam out to that Christmas album that you are loving. You got to find a way to make the most of the situation. Maybe you're like, okay, well, I just have a couple extra minutes. If you're like on a break and they aren't super uptight about the time that you are away for your break, like counting the minutes, you're like, well, I got an extra couple minutes to be away from work and be on a break because I have to wait for this line. Like, you're just trying to make the most of the situation. Maybe like if you are at home and your car breaks down and you can't go anywhere for the day, you're like, okay, well, now I have time to do all those things that I tell myself that I don't have time to do. Or maybe you're like, oh, well, at least now I'm stuck at home, so I get to just like watch my favorite shows on Netflix or whatever. Like, you're making the most of it because there's nothing that you can do to get past this inconvenience or frustration, or you find the best way that you can by, if your car's broken down, maybe you have to ask a friend to come pick you up. Maybe you haven't seen that friend in a while. Maybe you get to spend some time with them while they help you out. And by allowing people to help you out in your life, you're also helping give them purpose and worth as well. Realize that. The other part of this, see the inconvenience as an opportunity. So as I was researching for this episode, as I wrap this up, I was reading a blog post that was talking about how Jesus in the Bible, if you read the stories, he was inconvenienced often when he was going from place to place, right? People would yell for him in the streets and ask him to stop and, touch his robe and pray for him and heal them, right? Jesus was inconvenienced a lot. And if we look at it that way, he had every single opportunity to just heal these people and talk to them and help them and really, like he is the light of the world, and being that light to them right there in that moment. And if we look at the opportunities of inconveniences, then we could also do that. So again, the example, stuck in the Starbucks line, maybe you're going to use that inconvenience as an opportunity. You're like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just pay for the person behind me, right? Or maybe I'll take this moment to talk more to, like for me, I take the opportunity to like chat more with my kiddo if I take her to Starbucks and really like to dive in more to like what she's doing, what she's involved in, and getting to know her friends even more and stuff like that. That quality time, right? If the inconvenience is you being stuck at home because your car is broken down for the day, well, the opportunity could still be to like call a friend and like really spend the day with them and, be a support for them and love on them. Like, you're inconvenienced, but that doesn't mean that you can't shine a light on someone else, right? So there are so many ways that you can look at it from a positive perspective. And again, I'm not always trying to force you to be on the positive side, because there are going to be down times, sad times, hard times. But if we're able to really lean into the gratitude of life and see that we don't have to sit in that pit of despair that I talk about a lot, we can be there we can like, wade in it, but don't fall into the pit. Realize that you can, you know, accept your feelings, try to figure them out, feel them, honor them, and then move on. And then move on. So hopefully these tips will help you to really understand that frustrations and inconveniences are normal things that happen to every single one of us, but there are ways that we can navigate through it without letting it tear us apart. So hopefully this was helpful. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, with me, Sabrina. Thank you. You guys are amazing. I hope you do come say hi to me on Instagram at Sabrina Joy Perozzo, or send me an email, realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. And I look forward to hearing from you. You guys are absolutely amazing. So until next time, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.